Severed from the traditions of our legacy, we now embrace alien philosophies, looking at our rituals with suspicion, disconnected from our divine foundation. Hope instead of know, wish as opposed to acknowledge, anticipate as opposed to create, worship instead of invoke, choking on the phlegm of oppression, suffocating from the ignorance of indigenous wisdom. Forgot our chants, rituals, and rhythms, forgot our initiation systems, forgot about the patriarchal order, forgot the sacred role of water. Connected to being nigga, what happened to our warriors? What happened to the healer, magicians, and drummers? What happened to our shaman, jollies, and dancers? Do we prefer to be ass shakers and gangsters? Giving props to Socratic methods while blatantly ignoring Imhotep. From step pyramid to urine stench projects, history ignored as identity neglect. Can't have self-respect without a healthy self-concept. Deep beyond the calcified, corroded psyche exists a true you, sitting in the lotus position, meditating on liberation, raising your spirit vibration while disintegrating images of self-destruction. First eye to soul, revealing your purpose through visualization.
Peace. Welcome, everyone. Greetings. Kept it short and sweet, right? We're here with another community on enlightenment and transformation. It's 1 o'clock time, really crept up on me. But we're here. Welcome, everyone. Welcome those of you on YouTube. And it's like I'm used to saying blog talk, but we're just not there anymore. We're just not there right now. But let me get some things adjusted here before we get moving. Okay. Yeah, I saw that brother on Rice. It's a little crackled up on, but hopefully it's fixed now. I trust. I hope. If not, let me know if I messed up. I also was shifting around and sitting down when I started, so you may have heard the sound of my chair and everything. But yeah, welcome everyone. Again, to reiterate, this month we've been speaking on the concept of power, and essentially, like I said, it's not that power is just exclusive to women, but certainly it is a movement of the feminine element. So if you have a preponderance or a predomination, it's still there, huh? I don't know, Amar. I don't know why it is. Let me see. Tell me if it's any better now. I'm also in a new space, or a different space with a different setup, so that may also be and probably is affecting the sound as well. All right. If it's horrible, a little snap crackle pop. Wow, is that bad, huh? Let's see, how can I get around this? All right, I have an option. I'll need like 5 or 10 minutes. So if it's bad, like we can't hear you bad, stop the show bad, then just let me know. If it is, then I'll just need 5 minutes to do something different. On my side is perfectly clear, so I'm not sure where where YouTube is getting off, messing up the audio for the show. There's a slight crack, but it's not a huge problem. Okay, Justin. He says it's not a huge problem. All right, let's see. I'm getting kind of we can hear you. It's not bad. All right, then we just let's just thug it out. Let's just thug it out this show. All right. Because I gotta run into a whole bunch of different spaces to kind of recover in time, in order to fix that issue. So willfully, either to go away or it's just not so bad that you can't hear me. I guess I have to take a listen to it once the show is over. But you'd be surprised. You know how you saying, "Oh, we can hear you. It's a slight crack, but it's not too bad." You know how many people will post up huge complaints behind that, and will I can always see the number of the people coming in and the people leaving. But it's a little rough around the edges. Okay. Well, we're gonna just have to roll with it. Little something, 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 something. We just gonna have to roll with it. All right. But sounds like it's clearing. Yeah, I changed some of the YouTube settings, so maybe that was the issue. Maybe it needed a little YouTube scrubbing to fix it, to sound a little better. All right. But yeah, just let me know. I'm playing. Okay, it's much better now. You're very not bad. Okay. Yeah, I'm playing around with the settings. Only problem is I don't remember what I just did. So if it happens again, I don't think I'll know how to fix it. But all right, either way, we'll keep it moving, man. I'm moving spaces around, and got some things happening within my shrine. So I had to kind of yeah, make some different moves, man. So I'm in a completely different space than I usually am. So I'm sure me rushing and slapping everything together real quick may have affected, the call signal. But yeah, like I said, we've been dealing with the concept of power and its movement, its various manifestations through the avatars and the archetypes of feminine energy. Hey, peace, brother Kevin. Seen you around in a while. I was just thinking about you yesterday. But yeah, man, I think again, like I said, very similar to last month's subject on authority. Once you start to see or get more information as we go through it, as I'm sharing, and maybe you might be doing your own study, you'll start to see how the two are so closely and intimately related to one another, power and authority. And often we make them synonymous with each other, which really robs us of our access to each one in a proper and orderly way. And yesterday I was speaking about the idea of headship or leadership. We were dealing with the Yoruba term olori. You know, no, I'm not. No, I was getting ready to define it. How normally I say a word and then I say meaning. I'm not going to do that because I think you know the meaning now, right? And you know enough at this point where you could probably teach someone else the meaning of olori. So yeah, that's all I'm going to say. And for you newbies who are tuning in for the first time and like, what is he talking about? Ask our new student. They should know. Or even our new listener. They should know. They should know what Olori means. All right. So I'm gonna hold them to that. But yeah, so we were just speaking about leadership and headship and the idea and the thought that sometimes needs to go into choosing our leadership or choosing our head. And what I wanted to dig into a little bit more is the idea connected with oh, we got the triple goddess Nicole's in the house, huh? Okay, now we could do some rituals. Yeah, the triple goddess have showed up. But you know, I wanted to build a little bit on the idea, going back to headship again. And again, like I said, even though this month we're dealing with the topics of power, and we can sit and talk about the womb and feminine power and stuff, which I have a lot, so it's not that we've left any of that out, but you know, it's critical sometimes to just speak about some of the basic issues that women have, some of the basic things that they go through. Recently I did a segment where we built upon the idea of uh, the maternal principle and what's transferred or unfortunately sometimes was not transferred, during a child's gestation. Some of the things that they should be getting from their mother, being transferred through that navel chakra, through that umbilical into the or actually the sacral chakra going into the umbilical, into the child's navel chakra. And that was in many senses a basic discussion, but I think a much needed one. you know Sometimes sisters have some very basic questions, and speaking to the brothers, sometimes you may have a tendency to take for granted what you've learned up until this point, and may not realize that some of the sisters may not necessarily been with men who were teaching them much. So it's important to cover some of these basics, believe it or not. to get everyone on the same working page in that sense. So let's get to it. So we were talking about headship or leadership yesterday, and I wanted to speak a little bit about the idea of the crown. A lot of times the term crown, CROWN. Good. Omozuwati wants to know what Olori means. Good. The reason I say good because now it gives someone an opportunity to, like I said, you learn best by teaching. So always share, always share. Also, I should tell you too, Olori can also, and sometimes you may see it spelled Olori. So sometimes you'll see Olori, sometimes you see Olori. And the only reason I say that is because if you see either one, it's the same word essentially. So you won't get confused and think you're looking at something different. But dealing with that idea of the crown, right? Because if we're talking about headship or we're talking about leadership, we're talking about the pinnacle. We're talking about the pinnacle of the crown. Okay. Um, you got more than that, Michelle, but somebody will jump in and give Michelle some more. I'm seeing the definition. That's what I'm talking about. For all of you saying, what's he talking about? I'm reading the chat room. All right, let me not focus on that. I enjoy watching students teach each other. All right. No, man, y'all doing high fives already, man. No, you didn't teach the whole thing yet. Just as like, damn, Sister Michelle got it. No, there's more. There's a lot more, If that was all it was, then yesterday's show would have been like 60 seconds. I gave you more than that. Come on, man. Dig deep. All right. Um, so Omozuwade, they still got more for you on defining what Olori is. Okay. And there was a lot of listeners yesterday. Some other people can step in, but our 20-minute mark is actually when everyone shows up anyway. But anyway, so standing in the authority of, oh man, Anwar, he just throwing his own stuff in there. Now the brother's getting philosophical. No, man, come on. Y'all got more than that. I know you do. But yeah, so the crown. Now, of course, a lot of times when we think about, I'm gonna skip off it. I'm gonna let you guys work it out. But when we think about the concept of the crown, often, sometimes we just uh, we superimpose theories of a crown onto us, And of course, I go into this in our new spiritual training. So some of what I may speak about, I think will help to embellish some of those lessons. I'm very careful when I do these segments not to stomp on the actual training information. Um, it's disrespectful to the students, but you know, man, I gotta stop looking at this chat room because y'all are bugging out. Y'all not even like listen, I told you, when in doubt, just emulate your teacher. Y'all coming up with some stuff that I don't know where this is coming from. And yesterday you would answer the question. We had a class online yesterday, enjoying y'all would answer questions right, left, and right. How'd you lose it so quick? What did you do between today and yesterday? What kind of sins did you commit? But anyway, so yeah, man, we're going back to the crown, right? You know, yeah, let me look left. So we're going back to the idea of the crown, and like in our Hebraic structure, you have kether, right? Which spelled Keter, sometimes KTR even, meaning the crown or the top of something. So, when we're looking at headship or leadership, as we were speaking about yesterday, which is interesting because I've said that word about 4 times. Not one student has used that in their definition to answer Omozuwadi. So I don't know. Hmm. Hmm. I mean, do I have to freestyle rap or something? Like, do I have to change my format? Is it I got to do something else to make it stick? I got to be like a shock jock or something. But anyway, so the idea of the crown, of course, is not synonymous with masculinity, even though when we look at the ideas of authority or we look at the covering, often it goes immediately to a man, and that's primarily because a man is always going to be responsible for the supreme covering of an entire homestead or entire household, but the woman is responsible for covering the children. You see, so the same responsibility that the man has towards the woman has towards the children. So if we look at the concept of the crown, that which is above, or the haru, or even the ori, the head, it's not something, again, that's exclusive to masculinity or exclusive to manhood, because many times, and many people, and we could say all people really, have an opportunity to wear their crown, in that sense. And again, the crown represents the part of you that's untouched, that hasn't been corrupted by human manifestations. So you have your body, or again, even if we look at the Kabbalic aspect, um, we have Malkuth. Okay, so meaning the earth, or even meaning the foundations, and then we have Keter, or Kether, meaning the crown, or that which is above, very similar to Haru, meaning light, or that which is above. And Haru connects itself to the word, even in linguistic formation, to Ori, again, meaning your consciousness or your head. So essentially, what we're looking at, and I'm going to give you a little small example. Um, All right, I gotta check this chat room. I'm sorry, I can't let It's just the teacher in me. I can't let y'all go too far. All right, so let me just deal with this for a second. um, so somebody said, "Is it teacher, Olori?" I told you how to break down the words. Now Ori does not mean teacher, and Ol, or O, does not mean teacher. So that's out of it. All right. Justin says the male principal in the family, the man, the head of the house. No, Olori does not depict gender, so that's off. Okay. On authority, the guide, Justin then says the authority, the guide, or director of the woman. No, again, we're not speaking about gender. Omozuwati says, I learned. Here we go, Glenda. Thank you, Sister Glenda. Now we got somebody who's breaking at least part of the word down, but you ain't done. All right. So Glenda got you started. Thank you. So Omozuwadi says, I learned it's a title given to the wives of kings / obas in the Yoruba kingdom. It's always interesting. You may be thinking of Iyawo. Iyawo. The again, well, let's go into the definition more. Then you'll see why sometimes that can be used. But so Anwar says, for example, the head of the snake instructs the body to move. The body is the power, is feminine. The head directs man. All right, you're going too far left. Sister Gina says, Olori, name given leader, owner, name given to a ruler and head person. Yes. Thank you, Sister Gina. Sister Gina comes through again strong. Yes. Okay. And you thanking him, Omozuwadi, for messed up definitions. But the Anwar says the soul connection. Oh, man. He's on some those good cigars today. The soul connection to the mind that orchestrates the spirit to the body manifests its ori. Yes, but that's too complex. Too complex. Bring it back. Bring it back. Bring it back. Olori. Somebody asks you, what a name means or whatever. Give them the name meaning first before you start giving them the philosophical aspect. Because if you say the soul connection to the mind that orchestrates the spirit, how do you know the person knows what a soul is? How do you know the person knows what the spirit? And I'm not saying that about you, Omozwadi, but in general, I'm teaching how to teach. So you have to learn to. The word Olori itself is complicated enough. That's why a person is saying, well, what the heck is that? So, don't further complicate with more terms where they say, well, what the heck is that? What is that? What is that? Keep it basic. Keep it simple. Okay. Gina comes back. Olori, the same thing we should be looking for from our Ori. It should be the same trust we have there. Perfect. Okay. I see Sister Gina took notes. She took notes. I could tell. Olori is the energy that covers your head. It's who you feed each day and thank for a good head. All right, we're gonna go with Gina. Gina, you get the gold star today in the class. All right. The rest of y'all are reaching. Y'all are reaching too far. All right. And you're reaching so far that you're gonna confuse yourself. Just Sister Gina clearly is rocking with exactly what I taught yesterday. So almost Zawadi, Gina gave you, and I'm not saying that Anwar, well, some of y'all were wrong. I'm not saying that Anwar, Michelle, or Sister Marva, or, Justin were totally off, but they were off enough to confuse you. So Gina has it. Okay, so work outward from there, from what she gave you. All right, all right. I had to clear that up because y'all were all over the place, man. Come on, you gotta take notes. Take notes. Um, so yeah, Olari is headship, is leadership. O or Ol is knowledge, wisdom, and understanding. Ori being consciousness, being the head. So in straight Yoruba translation, oftentimes we call the Olori the leader or the head. Sometimes even the head of an army is called Olori, or the head of a family could be Olori. Or if you have a harem and you have 5 women, the head woman, in Europe they would call her the maid of honor, right? Because maid of honor is not from marriage. The maid of honor was the woman who ran your family, or who really worked right underneath your mother. Because remember, your mother would run the household, and then the maid of honor would be like her second in command. But in our tradition, we may call that the Iyalosha, Iya mother, Osha, like the head mother of the house, or the Iyale, the woman of the house, or the mother of the house, Iyale, or the Olori, okay? Or sometimes even Iyawo. Iyawo, you see, is a term that's also used for priests as well. Iyawos, Iyawo. Iyawo, Iya, mother, Awo, mystery. Iyawo, mother of the mystery, the one who knows the mysteries of motherhood. Iyawo. Okay, now that's a term that we use for wife in general, but remember, like I always tell you guys, English is so inadequate. So we'll say, well, this means that. Like Oba means king. No, Oba means the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of fatherhood. That's not the same as just a king, because then we'll say, well, what about the word Alafin? Alafin just means king too. No, Alafin means the resurrection of the law. So the one who the law has resurrected, our ways, our mores, our principles, our divine laws, sometimes they resurrect inside of people and they become law carriers. You see, so it's different. So you got to be careful sometimes with trying to make one thing another thing when you're speaking English, because it'll take you, like I said, too far left, and you'll miss sometimes the beautiful nuances that your ancestors have left to you. You'll miss those beautiful nuances. But okay. All right. Yeah, Alafin and Olofin sound alike. Yeah, absolutely right. I already broke that one down. I ain't going back there, Justin. I did a show on Olofin, and I showed the relationship between Alafin and Olofin. Fin is the key piece. The word fin in Yoruba means law. So I don't have to break it down now. I know I don't. Allah means to resurrect, like Oba Tala, the resurrection of the fathers. Tala, Allah. So Allah Fin, resurrection of the law. Olofin, knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the law. All right. I don't, this isn't a Yoruba lesson. Anyway, and some of you have asked me for Yoruba lessons. I've ignored almost every email that's coming like that. Not purposely. I just didn't know what answer I wanted to give yet. I have an elder who was gonna I was gonna bring into our new one of my Yoruba elders, and she does songs. She does Yoruba song, really beautiful songs. Like some of her songs I never heard, but she's a song keeper. And I had spoken to her about a year or so ago about also doing some Yoruba classes, because she helps me with my Yoruba a lot, when I'm saying something off, or like, because a lot of times what gets me is the tones. I'll mess up a tone. There's no son, it's like this, like that. So I was gonna have her come in and teach, because but she fell ill, So I'm gonna try to figure out a way to bring her in somehow. Right now, she can't do much, but I want her to do something. I know she's bored. And so yeah. So at some point, we will have some instructions. In terms of that, I didn't want to do it myself. I could, but it's better from her. It's better from her. And you'll get it from, I guess you could say, she's my teacher in some ways, my Yoruba teacher. As far as word breakdown, she doesn't have that as well as I do. That's why we enjoy talking a lot of times, because she'll say a word and I'll say, oh, that word actually means this, but boom, oh yeah, that makes sense. So just like sometimes the language we speak, sometimes we say things every day and yeah, we pronounce them right and everything, but we don't really know the etymology of the words. You might have a foreigner who doesn't say it as well as you do, but they can break it down better. So it's a good combination between she and I. But when she gets back on her feet or a little closer to her feet, then I'm gonna bring the sister in and do some lessons. All right. So, like I said, we were speaking about the spiritual tissue known as the crown or the head, and again, it's related to yesterday's show and dealing with headship or leadership, right? Now, there's something I wanted to bring up to really kind of clarify. I think it will help to clarify a previous statement I said, and to help us to go further in this. One time it was Sister Carissa, and I know I bring this up. I probably brought it about 4 times since the conversation, but it's relative, relevant. She was saying, regardless if we find out something about you later, Chief, we're still going to keep with these teachings that you've taught because they've helped us so much. I'm making it short and quick, based on what she said. And I said, no, don't do that. If you find out that I'm a foul person, throw it all out. Because everything that I've given you up until this point is poisonous. And I mean, not just, obviously, what's foul to you. You may find out that you may catch me tomorrow. I stole something out of a store. I mean, that may mean something, you may not, because I do that on the regular. When I go to the Home Depot, big chain hardware stores, if I have to get like one washer, I'm just telling on myself, I don't care. This is small stuff. If I have to get one washer and the line is like, usually the line isn't too old, but if the line is crazy and I'm getting a 5 cents washer, you're gonna eat that. You're gonna have to eat that. All right. Or if I gotta get one nail, y'all gonna eat that 15 cents I was gonna spend on that nail. That's your shrinkage cost. All companies have shrinkage, systematically put into their budgets. But I mean, I'm not going nothing big, nothing no big ticket item, nothing over $1. Well, no, I say nothing over 75 cents. So you may find out about that. I may get caught taking one of them screws one day, because that's a regular thing for me. I go in there, I need a little nut or something, and they got screw here for 15 cents sitting in those little screw bins. And I look at the line, I'm like, man, I'm not waiting for 15 minutes on a line for a 15-cent screw, man. Y'all get me later on something that I'm sure you're gonna overcharge me for anyway. But but I'm joking. Well, yeah, let's just say I'm joking, just in case, because they get you for anything nowadays. But the thing is, as a crown, as a lead, as a head, you're supposed to be beyond, again, the human manifestations of corruption, believe it or not. So you actually are required to expect more from your leadership. I know a lot of times we do that and we'll say, well, they're just a person, they're just a man, they're just a woman. I don't expect them to behave any differently than maybe I would in certain circumstances or certain situations. But the truth is, once you wear that crown, like they say, if you want to wear the crown, you have to bear the cross. you know the cross represents your physical, your daily problems, your daily afflictions that you have to deal with. So coming into that place of leadership, no, it doesn't mean that you're a perfect person, because we're a perfecting person, but it certainly represents, again, the crown is what's untouched. It sits above, on top of your head, so technically it's what you can't see. It's the part of yourself that's unseen. You can see your fingers, you can see your arm, you can see your shoulders, you can even see your nose, you can even see your eyebrows. um but the crown represents the part of you that you can't see, that's untouched by your humanity. So it's what you climb to move beyond the normalcy of your life, right? And when you hear me a lot of times speak about Shango, for instance, or even Haru, you'll hear me say Shango, Shango combination, but Shango and Haru represent the principles of circumspection. So they represent the ability to see the whole of things. You see, so in that ideology, that's what the crown is. So when you have rulership to that degree, or rulership, your rulership or your headship or your leadership sees everything that's going on. That's why sometimes you'll hear me when I'm speaking. I think I even did it yesterday or day before yesterday. Somebody will say something like I may be teaching, and somebody will call in when I was doing the calls. One of the reasons why, no, I'm gonna leave that alone. But someone will call in. I'll start teaching. They say, "Okay, well, let me explain more, Chief." And I say, "I already understand." You say, "I got it already. I got it before you even got on the phone. I know you. I know your situation." And it's hard for them to believe because they don't see you. They don't see you as that crown or as that leadership or as that headship. Sometimes it's because of systematic racism. They'll never see you, as a leader or someone who holds the crown. And sometimes it could be also because of their ignorance, or sometimes because you don't have the crown. Sometimes you're not functioning as one with the crown. You see, so they say, "Well, I can't respect that. I can't see the divine source of that headship, or the divine source of that pinnacle in you, because that's not how you move. That's not how you really carry yourself in that sense." So when you're coming from that crown perspective, it's the perspective of circumspection. Even in a very simple sense, right? Let's just say on a lateral sense. Imagine if individuals could, or if you could see yourself the way other people see you, right? Just that's simple. That's lateral. That's not even going up the mountainside and getting the snow-capped crown. Just lateral. If you could see yourself the way other people do. Now, you'll go through a lifetime, you probably never will have that. you know? So imagine going beyond that. You see, being able to see outside of yourself in that sense. Now, for the average person, if such a thing exists, that's not really a necessary trait to be able to see yourself as other people see you. It's not really necessary a lot of times for the work that you need do, or for the calling on your life, that's not needed. But when you come into that place of headship or rulership, you have to be able to almost constantly. That's why we look at Obatala and we say Obatala shapes the heads, and Obatala is all white and unblemished. And when he gets palm oil on his white clothes, it's a huge problem. You see, because he's been affected by humanity, which is now going to cloud his judgment. You ever seen an Obatala get emotional? It's horrible. They're a wreck. They don't deal with their emotions very well, or much that contains the humanity. But you see it play out more when they have a situation that makes them emotional. They lose a lot of their sound reason and judgment, and you start to see that that's the danger spot for you. That's your danger zone. We have to keep you in a space where you stay cool, you stay clean, and that's the love, of course, you give to someone. If they're an Obatala, you try to give them that type of covering, because we all need something different, right? We all need different stuff, in that sense, but again, as rulership or as headship, your job is to be able to see across the entire spectrum of the land, if you will, or to see it across the entire spectrum of your dominion, king's dominion, right? So what you have dominion over, you have to be able to see. So um it's like recently someone tried to tell me something about some of the people in Anu, and said, "Well, they're thinking this and saying it." I said, "You can't tell me anything about the people in my movement. Nothing. You haven't been bestowed and anointed in that position. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're doing. It's the reason why sometimes I make certain moves that you guys don't know why I'm doing it. Why did he shut down the calls? Why did he stop doing Foundational Fridays? Why did he stop doing Thunderground Thursday? Why did he shut down Masterminds Monday? Why this, that, and third? He suspended the women's call. Why did he suspend the women's call? He called off the retreat in New Orleans. It's not, getting emotional in the moment. I ain't doing this. I'm shutting this down. Or I start a new initiative. Why is there an app now? Why is this? Why, it's because I'm seeing a much larger scope and a much larger picture. Some of you are just like, man, I'm just trying to get through module 3 in our new spiritual training. Some of you are like, I'm still just trying to figure out these old shows or the prerequisites for the training. I'm still trying to get through some of this Orisha information. You may be working on a certain part of the picture, and that's cool because we need people to do that. We need the micro perspective, but then the crown, represents that macro perspective. It's that ability to step outside and kind of take that large breath and see the reality from the perspective of the divine. You see, and that's very difficult to see things, as the divine sees it, or as your God sees it, as your deity sees it. Now, that's why when you look, I gave you the breakdown previously. See, everything connects to everything. It's a reason I'm going somewhere. But I had given you a breakdown recently on the difference between like a king and an emperor, or a prince or a duke. And even though we may use a lot of those words interchangeably, I was giving you the breakdown to show you that each one has different implications. Though sometimes they may be used and they look very similar. But one of the things that I had expressed and shared was that typically the king is a representative of God, the emperor is God on earth. All right. And in many cultures, of course, and these are not really words that, from an indigenous perspective, that we may use, but it's good to understand them in today's paradigm, especially when sometimes we do use them. You may call a brother king, or you may call a sister queen, you may call your son a prince and your daughter a princess. It's good to understand the actual paradigm that you're invoking when you're saying such things. But and not to say that they're automatically villainous to say them, but again, dealing with the idea of the crown, he or she who wears the crown, they work in their respective endeavor as the creator does, if you're the olori in that area. So for instance, children, your olori is your mother and your father, but your first report is your mother. If we're going to look at the organizational train or the hierarchy, see, this is where we see matriarchy come to life. Now, again, when you live in a society where the predominant culture is a group of people who never really necessarily love children, they pretend like they did or they do, but no, you gotta read the history and learn how they regarded children. Why even certain sexual practices were created to stave off the birth of children. That's why when you look in movies and you see women giving birth, it's all this screaming and yelling and going crazy and take it out of me, take it out of me, and they want to fight the husband. I'm gonna kill you. And a lot of times it's supposed to be comedy, but it's just in truth. Look at any indigenous picture with someone having a child. It's celebration. Even the mother is celebrating. She's happy. She wants to have a family. She wants to be pregnant. She wants to have more children, despite whatever the discomfort may be. And again, I'm not trying to minimize the discomfort of labor. I'll never experience that, and I'm not trying to experience it. I don't know where it would come out, but I have no interest in that. But what I am saying is that there is a political and cultural agenda sometimes in the way that we even perceive what our very duties are. So if we look at matriarchy and we say, okay, well, matriarchy truly takes effect, when you have an elder woman, or I'll give you this Omozawati, an Olori woman, a headship woman, a leader woman. See, that's where I was saying I didn't want to give you that in the beginning because I didn't want it to distort the definitions that the students were giving. But you may have that when that woman represents leadership, but she's a leader among or above junior women, Oh, good for you, Sister Marva. I'm sorry, I glanced at the chat room. She says she's going out to a drumming session. That's good. I'm glad. So yeah, we'll peace to you as well. You can tune in later. We'll check you later. That's good. That's good. I wonder if she's taking her youth. I know she has her grandchildren with her. She's taking her grandchildren out to drum. But in any sense, so you have that idea there of that matriarchy where it comes into play. Yeah, you're where you become that headship or even that deity over children and over junior women. So this is where, and I've done a show on this before where I spoke about patriarchy and matriarchy can exist within the same space. It's not an either or thing. There's a space for it. You see, there's a time and there's a space for it. So you start to see the lineage in the head of the or the lineage in the order of the headship, but you see the responsibility of the headship. You see the responsibility of the olori. You see the responsibility of the crown. So, like, even as a mother, when you look at your children, you're supposed to see them as the divine sees them. Now, this is where you hear me sometimes speak about, yeah, and it's nothing wrong with having help. As a woman, I'm not speaking about polygyny or plurality, anything like that. But some women sometimes feel a little bit guilty because they may have to pay someone to cook a couple of days are strong, or pay someone to help clean the house, or ask for help, where maybe, some of the duties that fall under their sphere of domain, or maybe even help with the children, here and there, or help with the homeschooling. You see, but if you learn management and leadership skills, you understand that, well, it's very difficult to do so many day-to-day tasks and then remain uncorrupted by my human perspective. You spend enough time with any child, they're gonna get on your nerves. You see, they're gonna get on your nerves, and then it's hard to look at them like the divine would. You see, that becomes a huge challenge that need not be, because they got on your nerves. But then the father comes in and hey, daddy, everybody's running to, he's superhero. He's good time Charlie because he hasn't been corrupted by maybe the day-to-day activities. You see, so his perspective is different. Now, a mother can have similar, believe it or not. It's just, if you didn't know that was the charge of the olori, or the woman of the house, or the head, let me say the head woman of the house. If you didn't know that was the charge, then you wouldn't even know, wow, that I need to create a paradigm within my home where I can have this perspective on and of my children. I can have that level of circumspection as it deals with my children. Now, a lot of women have that naturally, to a degree. Sometimes it gets distorted again, like I said, because when you live within a society that doesn't respect the angelic and holy order of motherhood, because motherhood is holy, fatherhood is holy, you know, um, holy coming from Helios, sun, you know so it's divine. It's representative of that divine path, man. But when you live in a society that does some of the most indescribable things to keep you away from your light, and to keep you away from your energy and your divine manifestation, and keeps you only within the adversity of your human manifestations, then when you say, like, well, that mothering thing, that's a big deal, man. You have to be functioning like, basically, like Shakti with your children, as your husband or your mate or your whatever you call him, your man, functions as Shiva, because it's the primal pinnacle aspect. If you're wearing that crown, the crown represents, even in Hebraic, when you're breaking it, Kether, it's the summit, the peak, the pinnacle, the top. You see, so you're exemplifying and modeling the most archetypical examples of what those things would be. You know, and that crown is not filled with the human frailty, but the human frailty is reflected in the crown, and vice versa. See, the crown feeds into Malkuth. Things drip down and then steam up. If you could look at it like that, if you could look at water falling from the crown, then becoming solid when it hits the ground and evaporating back up to the crown. Now, I just basically told you the Jesus story, so you don't need to you don't need to read that one anymore. That's the whole story. Gases, Jesus, gases go back up. I mean, but anyway, another lesson. Actually, that one I'm gonna stay away from. I never wanted to teach that one. That just steps on too many corns and bunions. But so again, the idea of headship. So again, I'm primarily speaking to the sisters, of course, but it's also I'm speaking about the responsibility of the brothers and how he should be conducting himself beyond his carnal. Because see, the crown represents when you get to that place where you're beyond your carnality. You're no longer a victim of the carnality anymore. You're able to move beyond the depths of your corruption into the depths of your consciousness as a conscious elder. Now, you may say, yeah, but my husband's 26, he's 27. Yeah, but in that form, he becomes if he's an elder. If he was not an elder, then he would not have married. Now, I know you might say, yeah, but that didn't happen. I'm speaking when things are right. If you're able to do things or have done things in a way that is correct. For those of you who are interested in like your Nordic systems and you may have a little trouble with the Kabbalah, you can look into the stories of Odin. You'll learn a lot, in terms of what that crown again represents and the dimension that it comes from and the dimension that it works out of, in that sense when you're looking or you're considering headship in that sense. Of course, um, in our Kemetic systems, you can look at Ptah, again, Haru, but Ptah really helps to understand, again, that crown, that ability of the architect. You hear me speak about that sometimes. A lot of times our communities, they miss and they're absent of the architects. We have a lot of, we can have builders, builders just follow instructions, go there, do this, do that, do that. Okay. So, stack these bricks over here all day. All day, yep, up until lunch, then go take your lunch, come back at, 2 o'clock and stack some more bricks until 5:30. All right, I could do that. But if you go to an empty field and you might say, man, you see what this could be? Nah. Uh-uh. It's just an empty field to me. When you get something going, let me know. I'll come back. You see? And a lot of times, sadly, our community is filled with a lot of that. A lot of the builders, not enough visionaries, not enough architects. You see, and that architectural aspect is the patah. So a man within his familial environment, within his familial context, he has to have that mind of that patah, or that ability to open the mouth, or let me say the opening the mouth ceremony with patah. But essentially, the world was built through words. The world was built through speaking. So the man has to have that ability in terms of his headship and in terms of his leadership to see himself or to function from the crown, or the function as the creator, and to see his entire family as a creator sees it. So you may have children and you may say, well, you're looking almost as Oludumare would. I mean, I'm sorry, excuse me, as almost as Orunmila would, being that witness to creation. And you may have this child here, that child here, and you're not just saying, wow, this one looks like my mother, or this one looks like my uncle, or it looks like my wife, or this or that. You're seeing not just where the child is, but what the child will be. And the same thing as a husband, or as a father, as a mate, you're looking at your woman not necessarily where she is right now, but where she will be. And you're crafting, you're orchestrating things in her plans and in her life to orchestrate her to so she can reach her pinnacle, or she can maintain her summit. Now, what is her pinnacle, her summit? We broke that down earlier in word form. Keter, crown. So she can maintain and own her crown. So your job as headship or as leadership is you own the crown. You have the crown. You have Keter. You have that mount. Or you're functioning from that perspective of Ptah. You're functioning really it's a fiery thing. It really makes fiery. But that's another thing. But you're functioning from that Shiva code or that Brahma code. You're functioning from that code, right? So your job is to help to orchestrate each member of your homestead underneath your covering to their own crown. Sometimes that gets a little difficult for brothers. you know um you're willing to support sometimes until a person gets to a point where they don't need you as much, or maybe they have a crown too, and you may not feel so comfortable now, like everyone is not gathered around you, now, or maybe needing you as much. But I'll tell you, if you're truly putting the work in, you'll be happy for the break. You'll be happy when your youth are strong, and they flap their wings. They say, wow, man, like now my youth can soar. Or when your woman is to that place where she's fully managing her dominion and her sphere, which is again still the youth, still the homestead, and she's able to manage that in a manner which now frees you up to do other things and to continue to pursue the higher heights of your own crown. Because remember, the crown is never seen. So it's still those aspirations within you that you maybe have not seen as of yet. You've not seen to full manifestation, to full realization. You wouldn't be able to see it. You wouldn't be able to take it. Like that's what sometimes people say. Well, they ask me like, well, what is the soul like? Well, we don't know. Nobody knows, man. Anybody tell you they know, they're lying. We know what the reflection of the soul is like. We know what the soul reflects. You see, and that's the most you're gonna get right now. That's the most you're gonna get. You're gonna get the reflections of the soul. But the soul is too powerful of a force for you to take on, to even comprehend with the human mind, even a human mind functioning at full capacity. So we're all reflecting our soul light. So even like when we speak about the responsibility of the headship or the olori or the leadership, we're speaking about the responsibility of seeing things as the creative force, seeing things as Ptah, as Brahma, as Shiva, but not necessarily in particular functioning in full capacity from that space, because you burn your family up like what Shango did. You burn up the kingdom. So we're primarily in this world, we're working through a reflection. That's why I said, the Kether or the crown reflects on earth or on Malkut. Okay, it reflects down on Malkut or your foundation or Onile. You see, but it's not necessarily that your crown is not going to fall to the earth. That doesn't happen, and that's good. That's a good thing. You don't want that to happen. Because if the crown falls to earth and it gets corrupted and it gets dirty, then it can't function as it should. It doesn't function and see the earth anymore as the creator would see it. It gets lost in the source. That's why some people think that the spirit is the highest, but the spirit isn't, because the spirit functions through the earth sphere. So it gets corrupted too. The soul doesn't, though. That's why we reflect the soul. Look at the soul as a star up in the sky. The star will never touch the earth, but it will reflect its light. You can still work with it. Or look at the sun. It reflects, but it's not going to come here, which is good. We don't want it to. I mean, obviously, we'll burn the place up. You see? But it maintains its obedience because it stays where it's at. That's why the sun is utilized in so many different cultures. Even when you look at the crown, a crown represents the sun. You have the 7 rays that are often depicted on different crowns, or as we say in Palo, siete rayos, 7 rays, which really comes from siete rayo. It's a whole nother story though, but it's really a Zulu thing. Even though we say, oh, it's Palo thing, it's really Zulu. But anyway, so the key is there though, it's the aspect that doesn't come down and get caught and get corrupted in that sense. So um this is one of the reasons sometimes you hear me when I'm speaking to the brothers, or they're calling in with maybe some of the challenges or the problems that they're having in their families and relationships. A lot of times, not all the times, I'm not saying this every time, But a lot of times when I'm listening and I'm giving back feedback and answers, sometimes you'll hear me say something like, you're having problems with the woman because you're in her spot. You're in her place. There's certain things, just because you're the overseer of such, or you're the one that has that macro perspective, doesn't mean that you should have your hands all in the micro work. You're essentially, as a man, you're establishing and creating an environment so women can do what they are here to do. You see, that's what they're here for. So you're not coming down and say, okay, now I want you to do this, now I want you to do that. No, you know, the woman may even determine the tactics. Remember the show we did on strategy and tactics? But you share the stratagem with her. You say, listen, this is what I want done. I want this, that, and the third. And the woman has her own resources. I mean, she really is the resource. Let's just make it clear. She is the resource, the source of Ra, resource, Ra source. What is the source of light? Darkness. Light comes from darkness. What is darkness? The feminine element. So she is the resource. You see, that's why when she's pregnant, she starts pulling everything she needs around her. Baby wants some food, she just figures out a way to get it. And what I mean figures out a way, the baby wants a certain mineral or vitamin. She may not even know what that is, but she'll get cravings. I want olives. I want some apricot. She may have never eaten apricot. I want some apricot. I want egg whites. Egg whites, yeah, raw. I don't know. I just feel like I need to have raw egg whites, That's that idea and that principle of being and functioning and working out of that resource principle, that maternal resource principle, which again is a Shakti principle, being that maternal uh, pool of resources. But again, like I said, you've heard me a lot of times say, sometimes brothers, we don't know when to get out the kitchen. They'll come in, maybe don't come in through your house through the back door, or you're gonna walk through the kitchen and she's in there. Go through the front door. We know you like to drive your car up the driveway and the back door is closer to where you get out the car. Or maybe you like to park in the back near the garage or something and the side door is there, but the side door leads into the kitchen. Maybe you got to walk around the other way. Allow her to function in her sphere because you're already macro managing the entire operation. You see, and your job is really to create the environment, to set up the space where in the structure where she can now do her thing, whether it be the chaos thing, whether it be the resource thing, whether it be the ma'at thing. You see, but you're not supposed to stoop your crown down into the day-to-day of some of those activities because you dirty the crown. You see, remember the female or the feminine principle. And again, I want to make it clear, I'm not just talking about men and women. I'm giving you examples, but if you have a preponderance of certain energy in you, like a preponderance of man, you're a man, preponderance of female, you're a woman, then you'll kind of understand the correlations, And I know there's always that person will say, well, we got both inside of us, so doesn't this apply to anybody? Yes and no. Yeah, it does, but in a healthy cultural and social sense, there is a distinction between male and female. In an unhealthy culture, there's no distinction. It's just unisexual. Even though we say, but the nomo were androgynous. Androgyny is not the same. All right. So for those who are gearing up your comment on that, so the key is here, though, you're establishing that order in that sense. But when you're stooping down like that and going into that space, you end up corrupting the value of what you're supposed to bring to the circumstance. All right. Lowe says, let her freely function in her space under your umbrella, question mark. Yeah. But here's the thing, Lowe, like I know what you're saying. So what if she what if she breaks the umbrella? You're still giving the woman guidance. So it's not like, you're just taking somebody off the street and saying, hey, you ain't caping, and saying, hey, I'm gonna take a woman off the street and then you just gonna function under my umbrella. No, it doesn't work like that. Obviously, there's got to be that chemical balance. I mean, if you're Shiva, there's a Shakti for you. If you're Lakshmi, there's a Vishnu for you. Or if you're Vishnu, there's a Lakshmi for you. You know, if you're Brahmin, there's a Saraswati for you. So there is a proper mating. You know what I mean? Every person doesn't have the chemistry for each other. Everyone's not going to work together. But if you're giving her the directives and she's submitting to your umbrella or leadership or guidance, then you have to trust that this woman I pick. It's just like if you get with a woman low or women, and you say, hey, I need to be healthy. I want you to help me be healthy because you're the woman. You provide nourishment. You provide nutriment, and maybe you may have some some preconditioning, pre-existing conditions, and you make her aware of that. Hey, I have this issue here, got this issue there. Maybe I got some issues in my joints, this, that, and the third. And she says, okay, I got you. Well, depending on how you set up your situation, you would have to trust that whatever she's feeding you is to not only
Severed from the traditions of our legacy, we now embrace alien philosophy.
button I wasn't supposed to hit. Brought us back to the beginning. So you would have to trust that, and this is trust. You would have to trust that what she's giving you is for your edification and your upliftment, and what she's giving your children is for the same thing. So you wouldn't be in the kitchen like, wait a minute, what kind of seasoning you use? Is that organic seasoning? What kind of water did you cook with? The alkaline water I bought, or you cooking with tap water? That's not your spot. Now, if you don't trust her like that, then that's a different conversation. It's just like a woman underneath a man. You know, I've had women, I've cut readings short. My husband told me to do this, but I want to get a reading on it. Nah, man, I ain't doing that. Nope, not here. No way, no how. Because either he's your man or he's not your man. And if he's your man, there's certain things that come along with that. One of which is submission to his plan, because you're seeing that he holds the pinnacle crown. So he's seeing things as the creator. So you have to trust that, whether you understand it or not. If you don't, that's just that. I mean, one time I had pink eye. Sister I was with was saying, she said, "Oh, I wish I was lactating. I would put some in your eye." And I was like, what's that all about? What are you talking about? You know, she was really tight with the herbs and things, real strong Oshun sister, but had a real strong Osayan piece. And she was like, she had the thought to do that once, and she knows it will work. So I didn't say, no, that wouldn't work. Doesn't make any sense. Just that, okay. I wish she was lactating too, and put some titty milk in mine. So that's a degree of trust. You see, now me feeling her out, knowing her, knowing that she's tight with the herbs and she's sensitive to the ground, she's sensitive to spirit. She knew me. We knew each other's chemistry like that. Okay, I'll go for it. Sure. Now, there were times, of course, and sometimes that happens where maybe something is done in a way that you don't like, and you communicate. And I don't really, like that. Don't make me no more barley soup. I ain't like that barley and wild mushroom soup you make. Or whatever it is, whatever your thing is, communication comes in. But yeah. So to answer that question, man, do you let her function freely? Well, everyone should be functioning freely, but she has instructions. So she's free to do what is necessary to bring out the ultimate strategy. So she may develop tactics of her own based on knowing her own nature. You see, let's say if, for instance, you guys are vendors, for instance, and I don't know, what are you selling, whatever, crystals or something. And she says, you know what, I know usually we stand out here on this corner, but I was talking to one of my girlfriends down the street, and when she used to vend, she had more luck on that corner down the street. And I just noticed that's just like my lucky spot. So I'm gonna go over there and see how I do. Now you got to trust that if she's the resource bringer, or she has that ability to that she understands how to catch that, she understands how to do that. You got your own stuff to do. For instance, knowing what to do with the resources when they come in. You got your own stuff to study. So everyone, we all come to this world to explore. The women are going to explore, the man is going to explore, the children are going to explore. So you have to um open up that opportunity for maybe your lady to explore and figure out what works, what doesn't work. You may tell her to go shopping at a certain place, and she may find that she can get certain things cheaper if she orders online, or she goes to the farmer market, or she volunteers one day out of the 2 days, 3 days out of the month at the food co-op. You may not have known about the food co-op. So but ultimately you told her, listen, nourishment is your department. So the beauty is when you give her that space to really develop and get nice at what she does, because those are the things she's going to teach your daughters, you know, and those are the things that she's going to teach your sons' wives as well. You see, so yeah, freedom. Everybody should be free. It's just, all of this should be by choice. Michelle says, Chief, would that mean that the man and the woman required to have been good stewards of their olori even before mate selection? Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Again, you may not have known what that is, but and when I say you may not have known, like some of us don't even know that exists before we get married. But here's the thing too. Look at what you said. Chief, would that mean that the man and woman would require to have been good stewards of their olori even before mate selection? Well, who chose who? Like I said, I'll reiterate, a lot of times women in particular and men are not qualified to make those choices in who they should be mating with. I know it sounds crazy, it's so un-American. I know. But sometimes we think we know things that we don't know. You know? So should a young girl be choosing her mate? Heck no. No. She may like somebody. We'll bring him by. Let's see him. Let's see what he's working with. Even with a man. I mean, should a man be bringing his woman to his mother for inspection? Absolutely. You see, because they may not be developed fully in those areas, or she may not be developed fully in those areas. That's where the family comes from. The family comes in, I should say. She also says, Michelle, does the responsibility and source of teaching how to keep and maintain the crown come from one parent slash community? Yeah, because again, look at the same exact model I just gave you in terms of family building. You got a father who teaches, who guides and instructs. He gives that to the mother gives it to the children. You see, I never taught my daughters how to wrap their hair, because I always do the same. I do the easy wrap. Whenever I used to wrap their hair, I only know 2 ways to wrap hair, you know, and I had to have my woman teach me that. So times when maybe I may have taken the girls to the park to go play, and their wrap falls off or whatever, I can put it on properly instead of just having them look like Tupac, with African fabric. So um again, it's the lineage and that which is handed down through your family in that sense. So yeah, your father would have learned those things and knew those things, taught them to your mother taught them to you. Well, where did he get them from? He got them from his mother, who got them from her husband. You see, so there's a line. A lot of times, we don't have that line, so we're skipping around trying to figure out how to do certain things, and the line is messed up. You see, now of course there are things that you know obviously there's things that fathers teach their children directly. There may be wisdom that um a grandparent, and what I mean by grandparent, like there may be wisdom that a woman's father or uncle or brother even gave to her that she may give directly to the children. But again, if those people are in the same community as her husband, as her man, she's not necessarily violating um the mores or the structure of the home. And if she is, then a wise woman would be known not to do that. You see, so I'm telling you, man, so much is preventive. I speak about that all the time. We choose the wrong mates, and then we want to do rituals for the rest of our lives to try to bring peace into our families. It's just not going to work. It doesn't work that way. You see. So yeah, to answer your question, yeah, it comes. How do we maintain, and where's the responsibility and source come from? Comes from your parents. That's where it comes from. Not necessarily you as a child. discovered Ifa, you discovered Orisha. How would you have so much wherewithal to just be discovering stuff like that? And it's not actually, you don't already have something in place. I mean, how many parents really speak to their children about spirituality in a real way? Sometimes you find even some of the arguments between men and women is because they're not putting their energy in the right place. You have women that as soon as they meet men, they start telling them what to do. You should do this. You should do that. You need a woman's touch. I'll tell a woman, you need to go talk to your children about that. Who the F you think you talking to? Like, go talk to your child like that. You can't teach me nothing. Go talk to a child. I don't have any kids. Well, that's why you feel the need to run around telling everybody what to do. You need to go get some children. So that's where all of that matriarchy gets directed. That gets directed to the children, to your younger sisters, your nieces, your little cousins, your junior females. And then you have some guys that get in a relationship, they're so hard, they immediately go to war with the female. Why? Because you ain't out going to war with other men, taking territory, taking land, claiming crowns, snatching crowns off of people's heads. You ain't doing that. So you direct it inward to your family. You become a tyrant sometimes, almost within your own homestead, because you ain't doing nothing else in the world. Because you don't get any respect outside of the house, you stomp and demand for it inside of the house. That's no bueno. That's no good. That's no bueno. You can't do that. So yeah, that's where a lot of times that it kind of gets knocked off the rails. Glenda says an easy parallel to the Jewish tradition of never calling God's name, right? The aspect is always supposed to say on high. Yeah, yeah. But that is a Jew-ish tradition. That's not a tradition of the Jews. And that is a Jewish tradition. You know, um, we were given names. We were given names. Things were politicized later and names were distorted or minimized. We just say Lord, or even just say God, but certain things were supposed to be said by those who were initiated, and the uninitiated couldn't handle saying certain things. Well, nothing has changed. We call on certain things. We call things that tumble and topple on top of our heads because we're uninitiated. We don't know what we're saying. Something simple, good morning. Ask the average person, what does that mean when you say good morning? What is morning? What is that? That's just what people say. All right, then you don't need to be saying it. Hello. What does hello mean? All of these different terms. Even when we're using profanity or we're damning people or we're saying things like my wife. You know, you know what that word means? It's German, wiffery. The miserable one. That's what wife means. It means misery, the miserable one, wife. So what are you saying every time you're saying I'm having trouble with my wife? Oh my God, she's so miserable. She's so negative. She just complains all the time. Stop calling her a wife then. You might get something a little bit better out of her. Call her your lover. That's a term I use often. My lover. And see if anything changes. See if you're doing magic on yourself. So yeah, we were giving words, but again, when you start interacting with other people in the country, or other people around the country, man, sometimes you have to change things. Just like if you speak to people from the continent, a lot of times you say, where are you from? They might say, I'm from Africa. But nobody really talks like that. They'll tell you usually what country they're from, maybe even what village they're from. But when they're overseas, they know like people not ready for that. They're not even going to pronounce the words right. So I just say I'm from Africa, or I'm from Guinea, I'm from Senegal, and just leave it at that. You see, some people can't handle too much. So you learn how to present things in a way where they can keep up. They can stay caught up. All right. So I was just scanning the room. All right, so we're gonna head out. I told you I'm cutting these things down. You now should have a better understanding of the crown. Hopefully, some of you took notes. You might get tested later. Anwar says, per the men's call, the concept of the engine has been looming in my thoughts. Good. I'm glad. I felt in the past, in order to have authority, I must have an engine. Nah. But you know that now already anyway, because we discussed that. You want authority, you got to have a history. That's why you can have a Jew-ish person stand in front of you and tell you about what they do. This is what we do, and this is our tradition. And this, because why? They connected with history. They'll say, we want to do this. You say, no, we can't let you do that. It's a time-held tradition in our faith. You see? They just take history. It's not even their history. Ish. Okay? It's not even your history. You just took it. But because now you took that history and you claim it, it now gives you authority. You see? It's like some of you may, be speaking Orisha talk. But how many of you know the history of Nigeria? The history of Yoruba land, the history of the Igbo, the Hausa. How many know what Nigeria even looks like on the map, or where it's it's the surrounding places around it? The influence of the Portuguese or the French. You don't have any of that stuff. No, you're not going to have authority in those areas. And if you're calling upon word sounds and word usage from that region, it may fall a little flat because you don't have the authority, because you don't have the historical investment. Okay. We're going to head out. All right. So give thanks, everyone. I'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow's Wednesday, late night show. We'll be back at 9 p.m. Yeah, I just remember something. 9 p.m. All right. Until such time, give some thoughts to your crown. And before you say you have a crown and you claiming a crown, ask yourself if you have the character of the Olori, or the one who wears the crown. All right. This is Chief Yuya signing out from seduluhouse.com. Peace.